is at Rhonda's Nature's Way, 8059 Callahan Road at the corner of I-10 West and Callahan.
These statements have
day on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. Take us wherever you go with our mobile app, on Alexa, or through TuneIn, iHeart, or Odyssey.com. This is 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
How do airplanes fly? What's in this box? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Learn how to store your gun securely and make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
It's time for Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt. Todd Marquardt, attorney at law in Texas. If you're a millionaire or a thousandaire, Talk Law Radio is now on the air. Call in with your business law question, your elder law question, veteran aid, Medicaid, build a business to get paid. 210-308-8867. Or ask a question online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com. And now it's Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt.
Now it's time to discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. And surprise, now we're on the air in Houston, Texas, AM 1070 and FM 103.3.
Congratulations, Todd.
Yeah, thanks.
How fun. I should have told my aunt.
As well as San Antonio, AM 930, KLUP, and 630 KSLR. Also podcasts everywhere. Facebook Live, YouTube, and talklawradio.com. I'm Todd Marquardt. Shannon Roberta Salmon-Haas, San Antonio, and Judge Mary Lou Alvarez.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're the 45th Civil District Court Judge here in San Antonio, Bexar County, right?
That's right.
We're going to be talking about foster children, divorce, child custody, and parental alienation. So I want to get to know you a little bit better, let our listeners get to know you a little bit better. I read that you actually have an undergraduate degree in industrial
Engineering and engineering management. Yes, it's an IEEM.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so how did you go from there to the law and then to judge?
So I always wanted to be a lawyer, as far as I can remember. But I loved math and science, and I really enjoyed engineering. And when I went to undergrad, I wanted to make sure that I could finish in 4 years, have my degree, and get a job, right? Like I didn't want to be like a poli-sci major, kind of just floating in the wind.
Practical.
I was very practical. And so engineering allowed me to do that. I had a great time. I worked for about 2 years in Phoenix, in Tempe, Arizona, right outside of Phoenix, for Allied Signal and then Honeywell. And we were doing aerospace manufacturing. So both new product and refurbished product.
Wow.
It was great. But I wanted to go to law school, and I went to law school, and I have a great legal career too.
Yeah. That's just so interesting that you went into law after that. And then most of what you did was probably family law.
It was. So after law school, I was lucky enough, privileged enough to get a federal clerkship with Judge Clark. So I spent 2 years in Beaumont in the Eastern District of Texas, serving as his law clerk, and he's still a great friend and mentor. But after that clerkship, I went to Dallas, and I was doing product liability defense. And then I went back to Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid. Or Texas Rural Legal Aid is where I had interned during law school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went back. David Hall, who was the executive director at the time, brought me back. I did a little public defender work down in Del Rio, but then I came back to San Antonio, which is my home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a staff attorney for the family law team, representing victims of domestic violence and divorce, custody, and protective order litigation, some child welfare litigation, that FLDS matter that came. I was part of the team
Oh, really?
that was representing the moms out in San Angelo. So I had a great career, but the majority of my litigation career was at Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid
Mm-hmm.
on family law.
That's just so interesting, isn't it, Shannon, that there's so many other paths you could have taken with an engineering degree, working for big law firms downtown in the highest room, that, you know, working for big corporations and companies, litigating patents or something like that.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So what would you say is the reason that you chose to represent family law litigants?
So I think there's a lot of power in helping a family through their worst times, right? I think there and power, not all, like, not selfish power, but really
Empowering.
But you as the advocate hold the responsibility and the ability to really provide guidance and
Mhm.
make sure that that family gets on a better track, if not for your adult client, for their children, right? Because inevitably in family litigation that's really contentious, right, what's at play are their children.
Mhm.
Even more so, I think, than property, right? Property, I think, can become business oriented. You're just dividing money. It's a spreadsheet. Yeah,
Right.
you're going to get emotional about it, but at the end of the day, you can look at the numbers, right? Add and subtract.
Right.
But children and the relationship that parents have with their children, it's so all consuming. And if you are an advocate and you're really skilled and you're really compassionate, you can really help that family for generations.
Yeah, I bet.
Definitely.
Shannon?
So well said.
Tell us why you wanted to talk about foster children.
It's something that I guess I took for granted when I was younger, that my parents always poured love and support into me. So when I was working in the system, I can't talk. I have to take a drink.
Okay. Well, how about I say a prayer and
Oh,
then we'll
perfect.
come back to your question. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for all the gifts and blessings that you provide. Please forgive us for our sins, our mistakes, for doing the wrong thing, for failing to follow your will. Please help us to improve the lives of foster children, those going through a divorce, and those who work in the judicial system to make sure that everyone's rights are protected. Please help us to do everything we do for the good of your people, for our own good, and for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Okay, back to you, Shannon. Why
Uh-oh.
foster children?
I feel that I landed in the best family and I had love and support poured into me. And I guess up until a certain point in my life, I presumed everybody had that. And as an adult, you realize, no, everybody doesn't have that. And they have to figure it out on their own. And just facing adulthood without that safety net of the family, I just thought of all the times my family has helped me get back up, dust myself off, get back out there again. And some young adults are out there without that and meeting all the challenges that, and some are really excelling. You know, I know you've worked with Through Project, and I know I talk about it a lot, and there's some really amazing young people out there that are doing great things.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of when I was growing up as a child. I didn't really know that people had problems like with their parents or with their siblings. I didn't really learn about all the problems that can happen in a family until went to law school. And then I served as an intern for Lori Massey when she was judge in the 288th, I think. And she didn't have me doing a lot of work. So I would just sit in the courtroom and observe. And if she gave me an assignment, I'd go research some stuff. But I saw people air a lot of dirty laundry in that courtroom.
You got an education.
Right. About, how people that once loved each other, could turn on each other.
Yes. It happens every day. Every
It-
day, every hour, every minute.
It was just shocking to me. I lived such a sheltered childhood, I guess, which is a good thing in some ways. But like I said, I didn't really know about all the problems that happen in families until I really got in it in law school and beyond.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to take a break, but before we do, I just wanted to remind you that the reason I want to help you discover legal issue blind spots is because in the beginning, God had one law: don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then he gave Moses the 10 Commandments. And now we have municipal, state, and federal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws that might impact you without you knowing it. So listen to Talk Law Radio
You should.
in San Antonio.
Especially during a legislative session year.
Yeah, I have lots of updates that I need to get out. I wish I could be on the radio every day. So post a comment on Facebook Live if you want to let us know what your thoughts are about divorce and child custody and foster care. We'll be right back. I'm Todd Marquardt. A lot of people think trusts are only for the wealthy, but that's simply not true. If you want to avoid probate, maintain your privacy, protect your assets, or make things easier for your family, a trust might be exactly what you need. I'll help you understand your options and decide what's best for your unique situation. Let's talk. Call 210-530-4278 or visit marquardtlawfirm.com today. Do it before you die.
9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt, on the radio, on podcasts everywhere, on Facebook Live in San Antonio, and now Houston, Texas. If you're listening live on Facebook in Houston, Texas, post a comment. Let me know what you think of the show. Or if you're listening on the radio, jump on over to the Facebook page and check that out as well. Next week, we'll be dropping some YouTube videos that breaks up the show into different segments so you can watch or listen while you're cooking tacos, while you're walking the dog, or while you're doing the dishes. Today, we're talking about foster children, divorce, child custody, and parental alienation. Well, I'll define those things for you if you haven't gone through those things yourself already. Judge, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We want to hear your perspective on things, but I know since you're actually an acting sitting judge right now, there's probably some things that you're not allowed to give an opinion about. Can you discuss that for a moment?
I sure can. So I can't prejudge anything. I can't give predictions on how I would rule or not rule. And I can't necessarily lobby a position one way or the other. That's not what I can do. But I can educate and I can inform the public. I can make sure that our judiciary isn't a mystery. I can make people comfortable and have confidence in our courthouse and our justice system.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I do.
Yep.
I like to educate. I like to explain. I like to welcome people and remind people that the courthouse is their place for dispute resolution. It belongs to them. The justice system isn't something that's on a shelf put away, that's only brought out, with the good china.
Right.
It is an everyday use institution by the public. It is probably of the three branches of government. It is the branch of government that people will interact with most often and most frequently during the course of their life. And it's theirs.
Yeah.
And for everyone.
And for everyone.
People I meet do everything they can to avoid the judicial system, the courts, lawyers, I have some people I meet with for initial consultations. It seems like their mission in life is to avoid paying attorneys' fees because somehow they've done something wrong if they have to pay an attorney to do something. But I don't want to bear down on that too much. I want to ask you, Shannon, how do foster kids end up in foster care? How do kids end up in a situation where they're not at home?
Well, it's supposed to be a last resort, as you can imagine. That's a pretty serious step to remove a child from a home. There is going to be some kind of abuse, obviously, that's allegedly happening. And so the state has a lot of power, very, very strong power has been given by statutes. And, local law enforcement and this, the Department of Protective and Regulatory Services, they can come in and they have the power to physically remove children from a home. Of course, they have to present information to a judge that would cause a judge to sign an order like that. And then there's a termination case that lasts a year, and the state is in charge of providing services to the families to try and, I guess, rehabilitate would be the word we could use. If the family is not able to get, in line with the services and complete all the services to where caseworkers, judges, everybody involved is convinced that the children are going to be safe, then those kids will be forever terminated from those biological parents. So that those are petitions for termination, and an order for termination says you are no longer the parent of this child. So it's a really radical strong power that the state has, but as I'm sure you can imagine, there's a need for it. There are children that are in danger, and you're really saving lives sometimes by removing children from certain homes.
Well, let me share an experience I had, Judge, and then I'll ask for your perspective. I don't know why, but they always appointed me as the attorney for the unknown father or the actual father. And a lot of the allegations were that somebody in the household abused a child, or that there was just domestic violence between the parents, and that put the children in danger.
Right. That's a
or-
common scenario.
Or they were being neglected somehow, or there was drug use, and somebody outside the family reported them to Child Protective Services. And so all of that stuff happens before a judge like you gets involved, right?
That's right. And so the way it's set up in Bexar County is that we've got 3 associate judges who do the majority of presiding over the child welfare litigation. So the affidavits that are going to support the petition or the removal order, the 262, that initial hearing that's going to be set, some of the placement, the 60-day, the placement hearings, all of that typically takes place in front of our associate judges. But yes, there's a lot of work that gets done before the case is even brought to the district attorney's office, because in Bexar County, our district attorney has a division that are the prosecuting attorneys for these petitions. And so a lot of work is done in the field by the CPS caseworker. The affidavits are prepared, the evidence is gathered, and then it's taken to the DA's office, and they do a review, and they determine, especially given the law change, if this is going to pass evidentiary muster. And if they decide that it does, then they're going to draft the petition, attach the affidavit, and then seek relief from the judge, from the court. And again, that initial review is going to be done by our associate judges.
So this is you're a judge of a civil court.
Civil district court, yes.
But the DA's office is involved.
Well, the DA, and this is a good opportunity for education, right? Our district attorney's office here in Bexar County, they do have a lot of civil functions. They are the prosecuting attorneys in our protective order litigation, the great majority of it. They do some appellate civil support and litigation for our Bexar County offices. We've got a very diverse group of district attorneys, assistant district attorneys here in Bexar County that is beyond just the criminal courts.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But
so-
could they also be prosecuted for a crime, Shannon? The parents?
Absolutely. And it was, I don't want to use the word common, but it wasn't odd that it would be, you'd have the civil litigation going on, which is the termination petition. And then you'd also have a criminal case pending at the same time. So they'd have to be in this horrible position where they choose, do I give my testimony or do I plead the fifth? This might affect my criminal
Oh,
case.
right.
So, most people had an appointed lawyer. Most people were indigent. And so they would have court appointed lawyers that would have to make that decision.
I feel like back in the olden days, whenever that was, I mean, it depends on how old you are to define what the olden days were. But like I was saying before, I didn't really hear about people's family problems. And I think part of that was that the parents could do whatever they wanted. Like there was no oversight over parenting until recent history.
I think we've seen a shift.
I mean, like just take spanking
Mhm.
for an example.
Mhm.
I was spanked at home. I was spanked at school. I mean, everybody could
I've been
spank
spanked
me.
at school. Yeah, they would have a wooden paddle on the wall. Yeah, it seems bizarre to say that out loud now, doesn't it?
It does. And I think part of that is part of the shift, right, is with education, right? And I think, like most things, when you know better, do better,
Mm-hmm.
right? And with all of the evidence-based research that's out there, both in the field of psychology and, I don't know, maybe even sociology and child development, like we have an appreciation of
Let's
just
not
how,
be cavemenology.
well, I'm just saying we have an appreciation of just how damaging corporal punishment can be, especially in the excess,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well,
Violence
that's when
begets
it
violence, right?
turns into abuse at some point.
Yes. And I think, I don't know.
But that was a
Sometimes
really
the-
good point. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
sometimes the good
forgot
old
that
days
world
were not
existed.
that good. Sometimes the good old days are only good to the people that were in power back in the good old
Mhm.
days.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I've read a statistic that said that Bexar County has a disproportionate number of foster children, foster cases than the rest of the state of Texas. Is there a reason for that, or what can be done? Do you have any thoughts on that, Judge?
I haven't heard that or seen the context of that, but I'm not surprised. I think we do community-wise need to do a better job taking care of our children. I always think that there's more to do in order to show all of our children that they're loved, that they're cared for, that they're valued, right? Not just in the
Mhm.
womb, but valued as human beings when they're here. I think we can take a look at what resources we give our schools, what resources we give our children, even just food,
Mhm.
right? Like, why is it a debate that we don't have enough food for our children?
Mhm.
Not just during the school year, but even during the summer. So
Right.
I think community-wise, we can definitely do better about taking care of our children. Now, for children that are in the foster care system, right, we definitely need to do better taking care of those children because we have a legal obligation to them. And I think that's part of the education that I'd like to impart is that when children become foster, when the state of Texas is appointed as the temporary or permanent managing conservator of those children, that appointment comes from the court. That appointment is from a judge's signature, and the legislature has required our judges, our courts, to always act in the best interest of our children. That is the law. And for me personally, because I am a woman of faith, I also believe that it's a moral obligation to
Mhm.
take care of our foster children. So our foster children especially should be taken care of and shown that they're loved all the time.
I'm going to ask a difficult question here, but what I've noticed in the past 2 years or so is in the news with the political climate, there's been a lot of back and forth between the institutional bureaucracy. I'm going to use some conservative words, okay? And people that sort of push back against that and try to make changes. How is that affecting what we would call foster care and foster children today?
I think to the extent that there's any kind of political issues at play, it distracts everyone from keeping their eyes on the children and loving the children. And so our children become almost collateral damage to the political fights that are happening in Austin and nationally, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no secret that the state of Texas has been a defendant, a respondent in what 15-year federal litigation, because the allegation is that our foster children have been denied of constitutional rights because they haven't been taken care of. That's very simplistic summation of what's going on. And it's been going on so long because there is a judge that has found that those allegations are valid.
Right.
So I think we've got a lot to do to make sure that we keep our eyes on our foster children and take care of them.
Amen.
Good point. Amen.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the sinners and saints and divorce and child custody and parental alienation. Stay tuned.
Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. On the radio, on Facebook Live, on podcasts everywhere, on YouTube, and talklawradio.com. If you're interested in a legal topic, email me at host@talklawradio.com. That's HOST@talklawradio.com. This is the Sinners and Saints segment.
Sounds interesting. I'm like waiting. I'm like,
Shannon and I need to learn how to dance while we sit down so that we can look good on camera.
do the head bob.
Yeah, like from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, we should do that.
So like Meredith Brooks, who sang a song about being a sinner and a saint in 1997, Martin Luther, the famous theologian who nailed his 95 thesis to the Castle Church door in Wittenberg, Germany in 1517, taught that we are all born sinners, but because of Jesus' sacrifice and resurrection, we are saved and absolved. So we're going to talk about saints and sinners. I'm not Catholic, but I read this morning that the Catholic Church is naming a new saint, and so it's newsworthy. And the gentleman's name was Carlo Acutis.
Child's name.
Child.
He was a child.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And I don't know all of the rules for how to become a saint. Do you guys?
I don't know all of the rules, but I know that one of them is that you have to have performed. There's got to be demonstrated
A miracle.
a miracle. You have to have performed a miracle.
And so this was a millennial. I think he was born in 1991. He's the first millennial saint. And he was very active in the church. He was a great evangelist. And he was also had technical skills. So he was using like social media. Surprised you don't know this, Shannon.
No,
You should
Oh,
have
you don't know?
educate me.
you should have been following him.
I should have.
By the way, Shannon Roberta Salomon San Antonio Haas.
De la Vargas.
You've got more names. We got to keep adding on your names.
Well, it's because she adds San Antonio to her name that makes it a little challenging for me to remember. But follow her on Instagram and be encouraged. She'll have an encouraging statement near the end of the show. But I just wanted to mention him. I wanted to talk with you, Judge, about maybe some story of redemption that you can share with us about a situation that you've either been involved in or you heard about where, one of these sad stories where children ended up being removed from their home, get reunited, and everybody lives happily ever after. You have anything like that?
So I have, well, let me not foster care, but child custody litigation spaces that I think I can put together without violating anybody's privacy. I don't know if you know, I know you know about the Family Violence Prevention Program. It is an administrative office that assists our civil district judges in getting litigants who are going through domestic violence to services to help minimize the violence or minimize the possibility of recurring violence, and to educate and make sure that the parents and the children, if they're of age, appreciate the dynamics around them and how to heal from those dynamics that they may have experienced. So the Family Violence Prevention Program, I'm very proud that we have that office. I'm proud of the court staff that work on those issues. And so there have been a few families where I have referred over to the Family Violence Prevention Program. And I have, now that we're probably a year since the office has been completely staffed since its inception. And I do a status hearing. So if I refer the case to the Family Violence Prevention Program, I'm doing a status hearing 30 to 45 days from the referral.
You want to know how things are going.
I want to know how things are going. I want to make sure that the services, there was a connection. I want to make sure that the parties are following the order and engaging with services. I want to make sure that things are working for the children if they were also ordered to services, or even if things are working for the children because their parents are engaging in services. So it's been probably increasing in feedback that the parties themselves, even the self-represented litigants, are letting me know at that status hearing, thank you. And it sounds a little trite, like, but that thank you is so loaded because it tells me that, number one, the services are doing what we expected the services to do, and the family is safer and the children are safer. But number two, it reminds me that people want education. People want to get better. People want to do better. And we've had more and more families that I think lives and the children's lives are being improved because of the Family Violence Prevention Program.
Good. That's a good story. I have to interject because I get passionate about this. What people would really want is to learn all those things before they find themselves in front of a judge. My oldest child, who shall remain unnamed, gave me a hard time when he was a young man. And what I found out was that nobody would help me until he was in trouble. And so that's what I would like to see changed, is how can families get help before they get into trouble?
I would like that too. In fact, I would, again, I think so many things can change with education. And so then the question is, well, how do we get families the services and the education before they come to the trouble tipping point? And is that through the schools? Is it through churches? Is it through community fairs? I don't know. How do we get to connect with people who would ask for help if given the opportunity?
Well, there's affluent families that would pay for those services, but because the government set these programs up for people that are in trouble, that's the only entry point into a lot of these services.
For now,
but
we could change it.
There's no for-profit companies providing these services. That affluent people have the same problems as those who don't have a lot of money.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, being a sinner,
more money, more problems.
being a sinner isn't unique to your financial status.
You know, Todd, if you didn't want your child to run into problems, you shouldn't have named him Little Puppet. I think that was definitely your
She's
first.
kidding, by the way. She's kidding. Okay, I want to talk about divorce because that was one of our topics. And what do you want people to know, or before they end up in divorce court? What can they expect to go through? Because I did only a certain number of divorces, and I don't do that anymore. But whether it was child custody, or I'll talk about this other story first. I did a divorce. I represented one of the parties in a divorce. There were no minor children, but each of them wanted a disproportionate share of the community property. And so the way that they would ask the court to award them a larger share is to say bad things about the other party, about how they're a more terrible person than me.
Right.
And so you should award me a greater share of the community.
Okay.
What do you want people to know about that before they get involved in a divorce, filing a divorce?
So I'm gonna answer a little bit, and then I'm gonna let the advocate give her 2 cents. So
Okay.
I think first and foremost, people should know that when you bring your controversy and dispute to the courthouse, you are presenting to a legal and factual stranger, right? Because if I know you from church or from, we're mom friends or parent friends at school, I'm not going to preside over your case.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you are presenting your facts, your life to a legal and factual stranger. And I promise, and I want the community to know I'm doing my best. I am educating myself. I am trying to stay up on the psychological research on all of the issues that touch our families and families that are going through separation. I educate myself on decision making and communication skills and everything, right? I am very studious and committed to doing the best job that I can. But I cannot learn your life, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or even 12 months in the time allotted at the courthouse. I am a legal and factual stranger, and I stay that way. So the intimate details and how it feels and how it is to you, I will not be able to understand that completely. I don't know. What do you want folks to know before they go to the courthouse?
Yeah, if they were in my office and they said, "Hey, here's $20,000. I need you to go get me that other person's head on a plate. They're horrible. They're terrible." I would have to tell them, the judge is not going to care. I know you think your ex is horrible. They're not going to be interested in listening to your litany of complaints. Let's just come to a fair, reasonable agreement right now. And that's the policy I have, where I try to get people off of this track that they have where they think the judge is going to actually, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say you don't care.
Well, I was
I'm
going to
sorry.
say, if I can tweak it just a little bit. We
I'm so-
care. We care very much. Well, let me speak for myself. I care very much, very much. But I'm not them. I'm not their neighbor. I don't know intimately what your life is like. It's just what I can learn.
Yeah. Well, we have to take a break. We'll be right back. We'll be talking about legacy, child custody, and parental alienation. Stay tuned. I'm Todd Marquardt. A lot of people think trusts are only for the wealthy, but that's simply not true. If you want to avoid probate, maintain your privacy, protect your assets, or make things easier for your family, a trust might be exactly what you need. I'll help you understand your options and decide what's best for your unique situation. Let's talk. Call 210-530-4278 or visit marquardtlawfirm.com today. Do it before you die.
9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here with Shannon Roberta Salmon-Haas, also known as Shannon Roberta San Antonio. Find her on Instagram. She'll give her encouraging word in just a moment. We're here with Judge Mary Lou Alvarez, 45th
District Court.
District Court here in San Antonio, Texas.
But it's a countywide election. I don't want people to get tied up in like, oh, I don't know if I'm just in that number. It's a countywide election. Yes.
Because some of the city stuff I'm not allowed to vote in because I live on the other side of the city limits. I'm still in Bexar County, and so I can't vote for the mayor. But I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've been talking about divorce and child custody. Soon we'll talk about parental alienation, which I just learned is a charged word. But first, let's talk about legacy.
And now it's time for the Talk Law Radio Legacy Spotlight. What's your legacy? Sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm.
So Marquardt Law Firm sponsors the show, and attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm focus on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. It's all about legacy. And so I want to give you an opportunity to talk about what you want your legacy to be, whether it's your favorite family heirloom, something you learned from those who have passed on before you, or something else that you want people to know about.
So I think my legacy, what I'm working for every day and what I'm hopefully demonstrating to my children is just a legacy of service, right? I think we have a responsibility to each other. I think people of faith have a responsibility, a moral obligation to their beliefs to serve our fellow humans every day, all the time. And so I'm hoping that I'm demonstrating and I leave to my children that commitment to service to make our communities better.
Yeah, that's awesome. even if they don't do it themselves, they'll say, Mom did that.
Or mom did that, so I'm going to do this, right? Like I'm not saying that they have to be a
judge.
public servant as their vocation. But I do think that they will always and should always, and I hope they always are serving their communities in some way, whether that's in financial giving, right? Time, talent, treasure. They've ideally you'd be giving everything. Time,
Yeah.
talent, treasure.
Right.
But I hope I'm demonstrating that they will be giving to their communities.
Yeah, that's great. My dad served in the New Mexico House of Representatives, and there came a time when I learned how awful politics were.
Yeah.
And people said things about my dad that
Yeah.
I didn't think were true, that I didn't want to be on the news, or
Right.
the political ads on TV. We would get these things in the mail, that said awful things about him.
Yeah.
And, it really broke my heart at
Yeah,
that time.
that
And so
would. Yeah.
being a public servant, you sort of have to have thick skin.
You do. You do, and you have to have safe spaces and good friends where, the times that your skin needs to take a break, you have a shoulder to
Yeah.
lean on, a
Mhm.
person to rely on. And I think for the families of our public officials, we've got to be mindful of them too. Like I think my first reelection, it was a nasty campaign,
Mhm.
both for the primary and the general. And I'm expecting the same this time around because, people are who they are. And I remember part of the hardest things was watching my children watch the people talk
Mhm.
about me
Mhm.
in real time.
Right.
So we've got to be mindful of that. And I do my best to protect my children and make sure that they understand it's part of the process, but we still have responsibilities to do. And I feel like this is my responsibility to my community.
Yeah, I think this is a great segue to parental alienation. So
We can call it high conflict. If we want to call it something different, we can say.
well, I want to know first, why is that charged?
Yeah.
So I before I took the bench, I was an advocate, and primarily the majority of my career was advocating for victims of domestic violence, in divorce, custody, child welfare litigation, protective order litigation. And I've educated myself and continue to educate myself in the dynamics of domestic violence for going on now almost 25 years. When parental alienation first became a term that got started using it, inevitably, it was in the context of violent situations, right? So it would be a person who had used violence in their relationship, either in their marriage or in their romantic relationship, who had lost control of the person they were victimizing because there was a separation.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they wanted to disregard all of the bad action of the past and just say, well, my kids don't like me because of her.
Mm-hmm.
And that,
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, it's a male alleging parental
Right.
alienation against the female. And that term invited not just the advocates, but invited the fact finder to just kind of latch onto that term without revealing and putting the term aside and going to the context.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that is the most important part of sitting in judgment in family matters, is to understand the context. Right. And the goal is first and foremost safety, and then healing, and then relationship and connection. And so when we use that term, that loaded term, that it's supposed to stand for something, I think we invite laziness into not evaluating the context of the situation, right? So if the children are not wanting to visit one parent or the other, why?
Mm-hmm.
And I think most times the answer to the why will reveal that there is responsibility for the situation on the shoulders of both parents, right? Because you can't have someone who committed violence in the relationship come and say, well, I don't know why my 13-year-old son doesn't want to visit me. And not talk about, well, maybe he doesn't want to visit you because he saw you strangle his mother to the point that she passed out right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was only 15 months ago, right? So you can't come in a year and a half later and saying, I don't know why my son doesn't want to visit me. It's because his mom told him something.
Right.
Well, no, or yes, maybe both are true, but you can't solve the problem by not taking account for all of the context that leads you to that situation.
Right. I did think of a redemption story.
Oh, good.
I was representing one parent in a child custody dispute. It was really a visitation dispute. And the party I represented was concerned that the other party was a drug addict. And so if our children are going to visit you and you're, high or whatever, that puts her at danger. And so I had this friend that was a private investigator. And so I had hired him to watch this other parent,
Okay.
find out what's going on. And he did a great job, took pictures, saw all the wrongdoing being done. And so I got to have a hearing in front of a judge. And I said, this other person is, always on drugs. And I can bring in evidence to show that. And the judge told that other party, go take a drug test right now, fourth room on the left or whatever. And that person left the courthouse, never to be heard from again.
Wow.
And so I got to be friends on Facebook with my client. And so I could see the child develop, graduate from high school, graduate from college. Even though I don't do that law anymore, it was one of the most satisfying cases I had.
Right.
Because I got to see real progress.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to stop you guys
Yep.
right there.
Thank
Shannon.
you. Good story. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I just had to get it out because I wanted there to be another redemption story.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I want you to tell us an encouraging thing. What are you doing on Instagram and how can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Shannon
Roberta San Antonio.
There's a thing we do here in San Antonio where the minute it cools off 5 degrees, we just do everything all at once. So all the organizations I care about are having their galas right now. So Blue House, Magic Theater, Through Project, of course, and also CAM, Christian Assistance Ministry. And so I'll put it on the comment, maybe on the YouTube video,
Okay,
all the dates.
great.
And so those are just wonderful places to invest your time and your energy.
The Rape Crisis Center is having theirs too.
Oh, very good. Yeah. So if people feel like getting dressed up or not, they're all different levels of formal, and it's really going to a great
let
cause.
Shannon know when and where that is, and we'll add that to our list.
Yes, please. And just be kind. And public servants are people, and a lot of them take pay cuts to be public servants, and
they take some abuse too.
yes, a lot.
Okay. Well, thank you for that encouraging word. Judge, thank you for joining us on Talk Law Radio.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful. This is
you.
really great. Thank you.
So I want to talk about another issue that's within the same realm of the law.
Okay.
Well, if a child's parents die, then they could end up in foster care.
True.
Right?
True. Yes.
And so one thing parents can do to prevent that from happening is naming a guardian in their will. And so everybody that has children should definitely do that. And some attorneys forget that there are some catastrophic illnesses or accidents where a parent could survive but still not be able to take care of their child. So there's another document that you can sign to name a guardian in case you end up in that situation, because the will is only useful if you die.
Right.
And so you need to be able to name a guardian to take care of the kids if you become incapacitated or disabled as well. And so call an attorney. This show is sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm. Shannon, what else should we know?
Be kind.
Judge?
Just know your children are always watching you, right? And so give them the best examples you can. Nobody's perfect, but just do your best.
Yeah, my dad would say something similar. Someone is always watching you.
Yes.
Stay tuned for the next episode of Talk Law Radio. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.